Hey guys, I'm hoping to look at problems 5, 7, and 9 in this video, but maybe we'll just get to two of them and do a second video. But let's look at problem 5. Find 3 consecutive integers, not even or odd integers, just consecutive integers such that, and here comes the property, the difference between 5 times the largest and twice the smallest is 30 more than 2 times the middle. Now, there's a new expression in here, the difference between. We haven't seen that before. We've seen less than or smaller than or something like that, but we've not seen difference. So let's take a look at that when we get to it. But the first thing that we're going to do, again, as always, is just define our variables right here. So let n equal, and again, I'm going to use the phraseology that they use here, so they call it the smallest. So let n equal the smallest integer. And then, since they're just consecutive integers, not consecutive even or odd, the next one is n plus 1, and it's called the middle integer. And then n plus 2 is going to be the largest. Okay, so then let's do what they tell us to do. And again, here comes this word. It says the difference between. Difference means subtract, but not subtract from something. It means subtract two things. All right, so when we saw in other problems where it says that such and such is, 5 less than whatever, that is a specific ordering. It's when something is 5 less than something else, that something else comes first, and then you would decrease by 5. Here, when it says the difference, it's just telling you that you're going to subtract. All right, so I'm going to come down here. Actually, I'll do it right here. It tells us that we're going to subtract two things. Just kind of like sum means we're going to add two things. Difference means that we're going to subtract two things. And so it means get ready to subtract. And it's going to tell us the things that we're going to subtract in the order that we're going to subtract them. All right, so the difference between this thing that comes first is what's going to go in the first position. All right, so it's 5 times the largest. 5 times the largest. The largest was n plus 2. And here comes the next thing, twice the smallest. All right, so twice the smallest is, there's our equal sign right there, is 30 more than what? 2 times the middle. All right, so it's 30 more than, but 30 more than what? That comes from 2 times the middle. All right, and again, it doesn't really matter here because this is addition, but we just want to get used to that, that it's more than something. We have to put that something first. Okay, so let's go through and distribute where it's required. So here we're going to distribute that 5 through. This becomes 5n plus 10 minus 2n equals, we'll distribute here, so that's 2n plus 2 plus 30. Okay, then let's go through and combine like terms. So on this side, we've got the 5n minus the 2n, which is 3n plus 10. And on the right side, we've got the 2 and the 30. So this becomes 2n plus 32. All right, then let's go through here. Let's get all the n terms together on one side. So I'm going to do minus 2n. That gives me n plus 10 equals 32. And then we'll bring the constant terms to the other side. So we get n equals 22. All right, so then that tells us that our smallest integer was 22. Our middle one, which we called n plus 1, is 23. And our largest, which we called n plus 2, is 24. Let's just check to see if that makes sense. It's saying the difference between 5 times the largest, so 5 times 24. 5 times 24 would be 120. So 5 times the largest and twice the smallest is 44, is 30 more than 2 times the middle. 2 times the middle is 46. All right, so then we've got 120 minus 44 11, 10, 9, 8, 7. That's 76 equals 76. Yep. Okay, so then the answer is, the numbers are, or the three numbers are 22, 23, and 24. Okay. You should have already done problem 6 on your own already, so I'm going to skip that one, and let's look at 7 and 9. Okay, so for problem 7, 3 brothers have ages that are consecutive odd integers. All right, consecutive odd, don't forget that word, integers. Find the ages if, now they're saying this a little bit differently than we have seen it before. Usually it says find the ages such that or something like that. But if means the same thing. All right, so here it's telling us 12 times the middle brother's age is equal to 16 more than the sum of 3 times the age of the youngest and 5 times the age of the oldest. This one's definitely very complex here, just in terms of what they're asking us to do. So let's take this nice and slowly. So the 3 brothers have consecutive odd ages. All right, so again, when we've got odd in there or even in there, we have to be a little bit careful. So let n equal the age of the youngest. And then since it's odd, again, to get to the next odd integer, this one's going to be odd. The next odd integer is 2 away. So n plus 2 equals the age of the middle. Again, you could write this out in a whole sentence or something, but I'm just, for time's sake, I'm just going to write the middle instead of the middle brother. All right, and then n plus 4 equals the age of the oldest. Okay, let's go through and see what it wants us to do. So it says 12 times the middle brother's age. So let's start with that. 12 times the middle brother's age is equal to, that's the first time we've seen them actually write that out. Usually we just see is. So is equal to 16 more than, so again, we're going to add 16 on to something. The sum of, that means get ready to add 2 things together. All right, so it's going to be 16 more than this sum. And the sum is 3 times the age of the youngest. You don't really need those parentheses there. I don't know why I wrote that. And 5 times the age of the oldest. You do need those parentheses there because there are 2 things that are being added together, and we want to make sure we distribute the 5 to both of them, not just the n. All right, so we need to enclose those in parentheses. All right, so 12 times the middle brother's age is equal to 16 more than, all right, 16 more than what? I don't know. Here it is. It's coming up. 16 more than the sum of 3 times the age of the youngest and 5 times the age of the oldest. Okay. Let's go through and do this. Again, distributive property. Really, this would be an ideal place for you to stop right now and just try and do this on your own. We've done quite a few together, and I would love to see how you're doing on these if you do it by yourself. So how about you pause the video and just try and finish it yourself, and then come back on and check to see how you did. Okay, so then this would be 12n plus 24 equals 3n plus 5n plus 20, again, you're distributing there, plus 16. There are no like terms on the left side to combine, so we're just going to leave it as 12n plus 24, but on the right, there are a few here. We've got the 3n and the 5n gives us 8n, and then the 20 and the 16 gives us 36. All right, now we're going to come up here, and we have we're going to subtract 8n from both sides. So when we do that, here we're going to get 4n plus 24 equals, and then down here we just have 36 on the right side. Let me subtract 24 from both sides. We get 4n equals 12, and then that means n equals 3. So again, let's go back here. N stood for the youngest brother, the youngest brother's age. So the youngest brother is 3. The next one, which we called n plus 2, is 5. And the oldest, which we called n plus 4, is 7. So ages 3, 5, and 7. Let's check. 12 times the middle brother's age. So 12 times 5. Is that equal to 16 more than the sum of 3 times the age of the youngest? 3 times the age of the youngest is 9. And 5 times the age of the oldest is 35. So 12 times 5 is 60. Is that equal to, let's see, 9 plus 35 is 44, and 16, and 44 and 16 is 60. Yeah, so that does work. All right, so the brothers are, brothers are 3, 5, and 7. Would have been a lot easier if they'd just told us that, but it was a little bit more interesting to see that we could figure that out based on the statement that they gave us here. Okay, last one that we're going to do together, and then problems 8, 10, 11, and 12 you're going to do on your own. Actually, I just want to make one comment about problem number 8, because in the past people have run into trouble with this because they say perimeter. Remember, perimeter is the sum of all the side lengths, all right? So it's side 1 plus side 2 plus side 3, and they're telling us that that equals 45. Okay, so when it says perimeter, remember perimeter of any polygon is add all sides. So we have a polygon right here because it's a triangle, so you just add up all the sides. Okay, so it should total 45. Okay, for number 9, 2 consecutive integers. All right, so we've only got 2 consecutive integers are such that 3 times the larger exceeds, again, new word for us, twice the smaller by 34. Find the integers. All right, so 2 consecutive integers. So let's just start with let n equal the smaller integer and n plus 1, because it doesn't tell us that they're even or odd, so it's just the one right next to it. Let n plus 1 equal the larger integer. Okay, so here's what it tells us. 2 consecutive integers, here they are, such that, here comes the property that comes along. 3 times the larger, 3 times the larger, exceeds twice the smaller. Exceeds, what does that mean? Think about that for just a second. When something exceeds something else. Right? Hopefully you realize that means it's larger than. All right, so 3 times the larger is bigger than twice the smaller by 34. All right, so it means that, like, let's just put some numbers in here. Let's say that 3 times the larger was 27 total. Exceeds twice the smaller by 34. So 27 is the bigger of the two. Again, I just randomly picked that. That means that twice the smaller is still smaller than this by 34, okay? So I wish that we were in class here because I could show you. So here is 3 times the larger. It's bigger. It's bigger by 34, all right? So clearly it can't be 27. Let's put 87. All right, it's bigger than twice the smaller by 34. So here is twice the smaller. All right, if we're looking at these, a lot of times people want to add the 34 onto here because it's saying this is bigger by 34. But think about it, this is already bigger. If we add the 34, this is going to get even bigger. So if we had to do this in terms of like a bar chart, this one's already bigger than this. All right, if we add the 34 onto it, it's going to make it even bigger. It's not going to make them equal. In order to make them equal, what we're going to have to do is either add the 34 onto this, or we're going to have to subtract it off of this. All right, so if this is already the bigger thing than this, in order to balance them out, this one is going to have to be made bigger to rise up to this, or this is going to have to be made smaller to get down to this. And generally we choose the option of making the one bigger by addition, just because we're less likely to make mistakes. All right, so what we're going to write here, and again, you might want to watch this a couple times just to pick up on that. All right, so it means that this 3 times the larger is bigger than twice the smaller by 34. So here's twice the smaller, and if we want to make them equal, we have to bring this one up. We have to make this one larger because this is already bigger than twice the smaller. So that plus 34 on this side is just bringing this tiny one up to this guy's size. All right, again, feel free to watch that part again. All right, let's distribute then. So we've got 3n plus 3 equals 2n plus 34. Subtract 2n, subtract 2n. We get n plus 3 equals 34. And then minus 3, so we end up with n equals 31. Again, I just did that in my head instead of writing it, but you could just write the minus 3 like that. Okay, so then that tells us that the smaller integer is the 31 and the larger is 32. So let's try that out and see if we can come up with what it's saying. So it's saying 3 times the larger, or 3 times 32, and twice the smaller. Twice the smaller would be 2 times 31. Is this 34 bigger than this? So let's see, this would end up being 96, and this ends up being 62. Is this bigger than this by 34? So if we add 34 onto this, do we get 96? And the answer is yes, 62 plus 34 equals 96. All right, so the two integers are, or the numbers are, 31 and 32. All right, so again, that exceeds can throw you off. I think that you probably all said it means it's bigger than and it's by addition. But again, how to place that in there is a little bit tricky. So we have to make the one that's smaller rise up to be the same size as the bigger one. Okay, good luck with these.